The human was brought into the market at dawn, when the artificial lights of the space station were still dim and cold. Heavy chains wrapped around his arms and chest, not because he was fighting, but because everyone expected him to fight. He walked on his own feet, shoulders straight, eyes forward, even though dried blood covered his skin and one side of his face was swollen. The sign above his holding cage showed a single word in bright red symbols, translated into every major galactic language: savage. Across the galaxy, humans were spoken of in low voices. They were said to be violent, unpredictable, and impossible to control. Some races claimed humans enjoyed war. Others believed humans were born broken, shaped only for destruction. Very few had ever met one in person. Those who had usually met them on battlefields, surrounded by fire and screaming metal. The traders loved those stories. Fear increased the price. The human did not look at the crowd. He had learned long ago that showing anger only encouraged them. His name had already been taken from him, replaced by the word savage, repeated again and again by guards and merchants who laughed when they said it. They spoke as if he could not understand them. He understood more than they knew. Fresh capture, the lead trader announced proudly. A frontline human soldier, high endurance, extremely dangerous, recommended for mining colonies, gladiator pits, or private security for those brave enough. A few buyers stepped closer, their eyes glowing with interest or greed. Some recoiled, their instincts screaming at them to stay back. The human remained still. Inside, he counted his breaths and remembered his unit, the voices of people who were probably dead now. He did not beg. Humans did not beg. At the edge of the crowd stood a young alien girl, smaller than most buyers, her smooth skin a soft shade of blue-green. Her species was known for diplomacy, not strength. They were scholars, artists, and engineers. Many considered them weak. She wore the mark of a noble house on her collar, simple but unmistakable. Two guards stood behind her, tall and nervous. She had not planned to come to the market. She hated this place. The smell of fear and metal made her chest tight. But she had heard rumors about the human being sold today, and curiosity had pulled her here against her better judgment. When her eyes met the human's face, she froze. He did not snarl. He did not shout. He did not look like a monster. He looked tired. His eyes were dark, focused, and filled with something she did not expect: control. The trader continued his speech, exaggerating every violent tale he had ever heard. This one killed 3 captors before we subdued him. Do not be fooled by his silence. He is a weapon. That is enough, the alien girl said suddenly. Her voice was calm, but it carried. Conversations around them faltered. The trader blinked, surprised that someone like her would interrupt. "You wish to inspect him?" the trader asked carefully. "I wish to buy him," she replied. The market went silent. A few beings laughed, thinking it was a joke. Others stared at her guards, expecting them to pull her away. Humans were not pets. They were not servants. Buying one was considered reckless at best and suicidal at worst. "You are aware of what he is," the trader said slowly. "I am aware of what you say he is," she answered. "And I am aware that if I do not act now, he will be tortured or killed for sport." The trader hesitated. Money was money, but selling a human to someone unprepared could end badly. "He is labeled savage for a reason. We are not responsible for what he does." She stepped forward until she stood directly in front of the cage. The human finally looked at her. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment the noise of the market faded. "Don't hurt the human," she said, turning her gaze to the trader. "I will buy him. Call him savage if you want. Names do not change what someone is." The trader studied her, calculating. A noble buyer meant protection, and a high price. He nodded. "Very well, ownership transfer will be immediate." The chains were unlocked and reattached with a control collar instead. The human did not resist as he was led forward. He watched the alien girl closely, expecting fear or disgust. He saw neither. When the transaction was complete, the trader smiled. "He is yours, may fortune favor you." The guards tensed, weapons ready, but nothing happened. The human stood quietly beside his new owner, towering over her, his presence drawing nervous glances from everyone nearby. As they left the market, whispers followed them. She felt them like cold air against her back, but she kept walking. Only when they were inside her private transport did she finally breathe out. The human was guided to a restraint seat, but she raised her hand. "No restraints," she said. The guard stared at her. "My lady," I said, "no restraints. He will not harm me." The human slowly sat where she indicated. He did not attack. He did not speak. The transport doors closed and the engines hummed to life. For several minutes there was silence. "Why?" the human finally asked. His voice was rough but controlled, not angry, curious. She turned toward him. "Because you were going to die." "That happens," he replied. "Yes," she said softly, "but not today." He studied her, clearly trying to understand. "You bought a human. Do you know what that means?" "I know what the galaxy believes," she answered. "And I know fear often hides ignorance." He let out a quiet breath. "If I lose control, they will blame you." "I do not believe you will," she said. Something in her certainty unsettled him more than chains ever had. The transport arrived at her estate, a floating structure of clean lines and open light, surrounded by defensive drones that activated the moment they approached. The human noticed everything: the angles, the patrol patterns, the blind spots. Old habits did not die easily. Inside, servants froze when they saw him. Some stepped back in fear. Others stared with open curiosity. "Prepare a medical room," the alien girl ordered. "And food, human food." The human frowned. "You don't need to feed me." "You are injured," she replied. "And you are not a weapon in storage. You are a living being under my protection." Protection. The word felt strange to him. As medical staff worked on his wounds, he did not resist. Their hands trembled, but he stayed still. When they finished, fresh clothing was brought, simple, durable fabric, not a slave uniform. "You may rest," she said. "No one here will harm you." He looked at the open door. He could try to escape. He could kill her guards. He could run. Instead, he sat down. "Why are you really doing this?" he asked quietly. She paused, then answered honestly. "Because my people are surrounded by those who see kindness as weakness. I believe humans understand the difference between the two." He nodded slowly. That night, alone in a room without chains, the human stared at the ceiling. For the first time since his capture, no one shouted at him. No one threatened him. Across the estate, the alien girl stood at a window, watching the stars. She knew the galaxy would not ignore her choice. Buying a human changed things. It always did. Neither of them slept. And far beyond the estate, whispers began to spread. A human called Savage had been bought not by a warlord but by a gentle alien noble. The galaxy waited to see what would happen next. The human woke before the lights changed to morning mode. His body was still sore, but the pain was clean now, treated instead of ignored. He sat up slowly and listened. The estate was quiet but not empty. Soft sounds of movement passed through the walls. Machines hummed. Guards changed shifts. Everything followed a pattern. Patterns made sense. Chaos did not. He stood and walked to the window. Outside, space stretched wide and endless, stars drifting like distant fires. This place was nothing like a prison camp or a transport hold. No bars, no chains, no shouting. That alone made him uneasy. Humans trusted danger they could see. A gentle sound came from the door. It slid open without force. The alien girl stepped inside, carrying a small tray. She wore simple clothing now, not noble robes. It made her look younger. "You are awake," she said. "I always am," the human replied. She set the tray down on a table. "Food. It is based on your species' needs. We studied human nutrition carefully." He raised an eyebrow. "Carefully enough not to poison me." A small smile touched her lips. "I hope so." He approached slowly, sniffed the food out of habit, then took a bite. His shoulders relaxed despite himself. It tasted familiar, not perfect but close enough to remind him of home. "Why do this?" he asked between bites. "You already paid for me. I did not buy you to starve you," she said simply. He watched her closely. "Most people who buy humans want something." "Yes," she agreed. "So do I." That made him pause. "Then say it." She took a breath. "My people are not fighters. We avoid conflict, but conflict does not avoid us. Stronger races pressure us, threaten us, test our borders. I need protection, not a monster, a mind, a will." He finished eating and looked at her fully. "You want me to be your weapon." "I want you to be my shield," she corrected. "There is a difference." He considered that. "And if I say no, then I will free you," she said without hesitation. "I will arrange safe passage to a neutral system." That answer surprised him more than anything else. "Why trust me?" he asked. She met his gaze. "Because you have already shown restraint in the market, in the transport, here. A true savage would have acted by now." Silence stretched between them. "People called me that long before I was captured," he said quietly. "Savage. Killer, monster. It's easier than learning our names." "What is your name?" she asked. He hesitated. "Names have power and weight." "I will not use it without permission," she said. He nodded once. "Then you may keep calling me Savage for now." She accepted that. "Very well." Over the next few days, the human observed everything. He watched how guards moved, how servants reacted, how security systems responded to false alarms. No one ordered him to work. No one threatened him. Still, he remained alert. The alien girl, whose name he learned was Lurie, spent hours studying reports and messages. When she walked the halls, people bowed to her, but fear lingered in their eyes when they saw him. "Do they hate me?" he asked one day. "They fear what they do not understand," Lurie replied. "That includes you, and sometimes me." One afternoon, alarms echoed through the estate. Defensive drones activated. The human moved instantly, positioning himself between Lurie and the nearest entrance. "Report," she ordered calmly. A guard replied, "Unidentified vessel approaching. No attack yet, but it is armed." The human's jaw tightened. "Testing you," Lurie nodded. "They do this often, they push. See how much we bend." "What do you usually do?" he asked. "Send warnings. Offer talks, pay fees." "And it never ends," he said. "No," she admitted. The vessel drew closer. The human studied the data feeds. "Their formation is sloppy. They expect you to submit." "What would you do?" she asked. He looked at her. "Show them teeth without biting." He moved to the control console, pointing out changes, redirecting drones, adjusting shield angles, broadcasting a message not aggressive but firm. When the unknown vessel scanned the estate again, it hesitated. The human leaned forward. "Now wait." Minutes passed. Finally, the vessel turned away. The guards stared at him in disbelief. Lurie exhaled slowly. "You stopped them without firing." "Fear is a tool," he said. "Use it carefully or it uses you." Word spread quickly. The human was not just muscle. He was strategy, discipline. Control. Days turned into weeks. The human trained guards, teaching them formation, awareness, and calm under pressure. He never shouted, never struck. His authority came from confidence. Some guards began to trust him. Others still watched him like a caged animal. Lurie noticed everything. One evening she joined him in the training hall. "You have changed this place," she said. "So have you," he replied. She tilted her head. "How?" "You gave them something they never had," he said. "Choice." She smiled faintly. "I am glad you stayed." "So am I," he said, surprising them both. That night a message arrived from a powerful noble house. They demanded the human be surrendered. Humans, they claimed, were too dangerous to be owned by anyone like Lurie. She read the message twice, then looked at him. "They are afraid," he said. "Yes," she replied, "and afraid people do foolish things." "What will you do?" he asked. "I will not give you up," she said firmly. "But this may lead to conflict." He straightened. "Then we prepare." As fleets shifted and eyes turned toward the quiet estate, the human known as Savage stood ready. Not as a slave, not as a weapon, but as something far more dangerous. A human who chose where he stood. The message from the noble house did not stay private for long. In the galaxy, power listened carefully to fear, and fear spread faster than truth. Within days, ships began to appear at the edges of the system. They did not attack. They waited, watched, judged. The estate felt the pressure even before the first warning shot was fired. Guards trained harder. Servants moved quietly. Conversations stopped when the human passed. Yet something had changed since his arrival. Fear was no longer the only feeling in the air. There was resolve, too. The human stood in the command room, looking at the star map. He had removed the control collar days ago. Lurie had given the order herself. "If you stay," she had told him, "it will be by choice." He had stayed. "They are forming a loose ring," he said now. "Not a blockade, a threat." Lurie stood beside him, her hands clasped behind her back. "They want me to panic, to surrender you without a fight." "They think you are weak," he said. She nodded. "They always have." He turned to face her. "Then let's disappoint them." She studied his face, searching for hesitation. She found none, only calm focus. "Do you regret staying?" she asked quietly. "No," he answered at once. "I regret that it took chains for me to end up here." She looked away toward the stars. "If this turns into war, lives will be lost." "Yes," he said, "but not because of you." The first attack came without warning. Not a direct strike, but a probe. A small group of ships crossed into the inner defense zone, testing response times. Alarms rang through the estate. The human did not shout orders. He spoke clearly, firmly. Guards moved where he pointed. Drones launched in tight patterns. Shields flared, then adjusted. When the enemy ships realized they were being tracked perfectly, they pulled back. Hours later, a transmission arrived. "Release the human," the noble house demanded, "or face consequences." Lurie stepped forward and activated the reply channel. "The human is not property. He is under my protection." Laughter echoed through the speakers. "Protection from what?" "From us." "From those who believe strength gives them the right to take," she replied. Silence followed. Then the channel closed. The human exhaled slowly. "They will escalate." "I know," she said. "They did." The next wave was larger. Not enough to destroy the estate, but enough to scare the system. Trade ships fled. Neighbors went silent. The message was clear: stand aside or be crushed. The human gathered the guards one final time. He looked at their faces. Some were afraid, some were determined. None of them left. "You are not soldiers," he told them, "and that is your advantage. Soldiers follow orders. You think, you adapt, stay calm, trust each other." They nodded. When the attack came, it was controlled chaos. The estate did not rush forward. It did not hide either. Drones moved like a living wall. Shields absorbed fire, then shifted to reflect it away. The human anticipated every move, every feint. Enemy commanders grew frustrated. This was not how weak nobles were supposed to fight. A lucky strike breached an outer platform. Smoke filled the halls. Lurie was nearly caught in the explosion, but the human reached her first, pulling her behind cover. "You should be in the command room," he said. "And you should be free," she replied. "Yet here we are." He allowed himself a small smile. "Stay close." Hours passed. The attackers lost ships, not destroyed but disabled, drifting, alive. That was intentional. Finally, the noble house opened communications again. Their tone had changed. "You are harboring a dangerous species," they said. "Release him and we will withdraw." The human stepped into view beside Lurie. He looked directly into the camera. "My species is dangerous," he said calmly, "but not in the way you think. We do not destroy for pleasure. We endure, we protect, and we remember." The noble's eyes narrowed. "You are a slave." "I was," the human replied. "Not anymore." The transmission ended. Moments later, the enemy fleet began to retreat. The system fell silent. News spread quickly. A peaceful noble estate had stood against a major power and survived. Not through brute force, but through discipline and unity. And at the center of it all was a human who refused to act like the monster everyone expected. Days later, Representatives arrived, not with weapons but with questions. The human was summoned before a galactic council. Lurie went with him, standing at his side, not above him. They asked him who he belonged to. "I belong to myself," he said. They asked Lurie why she had broken tradition. "Because tradition was wrong," she answered. They argued. They debated. They warned. But the evidence was clear. The human had not caused chaos. He had prevented it. In the end, the council ruled that humans could not be owned. Not by law, not by fear. The word savage was removed from his record. When they returned to the estate, everything felt different. Later, Lurie stood with him on the balcony, watching stars drift by. "You are free," she said. He nodded. "Yes." "You could leave," she added. "I could," he agreed. She waited, her heart steady but uncertain. "I won't," he said. "Not yet." She smiled, relief soft in her eyes. "Then stay, as long as you wish." He looked at the estate, at the guards who now greeted him with respect, at the place that had given him something he had not known he needed: choice. Far away, the galaxy adjusted its understanding of humanity. Humans were no longer just warriors or monsters. They were allies, protectors, forces of will. And somewhere among the stars, a human once called savage stood free, not because he fought the galaxy, but because he proved it wrong.